Hey everyone, good morning and good evening. So let's start with today's session. Let me quickly start sharing my screen and let's see what exactly are we doing today. Hopefully my screen is visible to you guys. Okay, so yesterday we did 3 topics. We talked about what exactly is NSG and what are the importance of NSG, and secondly we talked about what is ASG, importance of ASG, and NAT gateway. These are the 3 things which we saw yesterday. So guys, if you have not referred my previous videos and if you're joining it for the very first time today, make sure to go and check the previous videos which is there on the drive. The reason, because everything is related. Even today the topics which I'm going to cover would be very much related what we did earlier. Okay, so all this topic is very related to security, keeping DevSecOps in mind. How do we secure things at the network layer? That is what we are talking about right now. Now today we will talk about topics such as Bastion host. We'll talk about topics such as capturing an image, custom image, and we'll talk about topics such as Azure billing. That is an important part. We need to know how do we calculate the billings. If we are spinning up any VM, how do we calculate, what are the charges, what are the network in and out cost and everything. So that is something we'll see. And if time permits, we'll start with availability set, availability zone and set. This is what we'll try to target today. Okay, let's go and understand Bastion host first. Before I jump on and start talking about Bastion host, let's talk about the various methods through which you will be able to connect to your VM. We saw, like, we were spinning a VM and we were doing SSH. This is one of the method, correct? Just give me one quick minute, guys. There are a few people not able to join. Okay. Okay, sorry for that, guys. So yeah, there are multiple ways through which we were able to connect. One we saw through SSH, through which we were SSH to the Linux machine. The second is RDP, through which we can connect to Windows machine. We haven't created any Windows machine yet, but don't worry, we'll see it. But in both the cases, you need to expose port 22, and you need to, in RDP, you need to expose 3389. These are very generic ports. When I say generic, these are very generic. Everyone in the world knows what exactly these ports are. Okay, just kindly put yourself on mute. So everyone in the world knows what this port are, and this becomes a very easy target. If you have such ports open in production, these ports become very easy target to exploit your environment. Okay, the hacker will look into if you have any 22 ports open through which they can enter to your system, and if they get access to your system, they can do whatever they want. That is the one disadvantage. The second disadvantage, remember, we need to expose public IP as well. If you want to connect to internet, what we were doing, we were assigning a static or a dynamic public IP, correct, through which we were able to connect. Exposing a public IP is again a security threat. So we saw already a option, if you keep it in your backend, you can make use of NAT, and through which you will be able to connect to internet. That is for outbound traffic, correct? Connecting to internet from your VM, that's why outbound traffic where NAT gateway comes in picture. What about the inbound traffic? You're connecting to from your local system, that is from internet to your VM, then again there is a security breach. So in order to handle all this security issue, we got something called as Bastion host. Okay, now what exactly is Bastion host? So if I talk in a very typical definition language, a Bastion is a service which you will deploy that lets you connect to a virtual machine using your browser. So using your browser, you'll be able to connect to your virtual machine from your portal itself. Okay, so what exactly Bastion host does, let's see it. So this is your typical virtual network, the VNet. Okay, now in this VNet you got your own subnet created. Let's name this subnet and give whatever number you want to give to this subnet. And in this subnet you got your VMs. Let's suppose you have VM1 and you got VM2. There are two VMs inside this subnet, VM1 and you have VM2. Okay, so this is your, now anyone trying to access this from outside, that is from internet, what they will do, you have to, if it's a Linux machine, what you have to do, you have to open a port 22, expose a public IP, then the person will get access to this VM. Correct? What do you need to do? Open port 22, and expose public IP. Two things. This is the typical way of connecting. This is what we are seeing from last 3 days. This is how we were connecting to the VM. Now, as I spoke about, there are so many threats involved doing such in this way. The other way is using Azure Bastion host. So Bastion host is nothing but what it will do, it will auto create one subnet, a new subnet. When you try to create a Bastion host, you will see a subnet getting created, and in this subnet you will have a Bastion VM that will not be visible to you guys, that gets created in the backdrop. So we call this as Bastion, Azure Bastion VM. This is what it will be created, and this Bastion will get assigned a public IP. This Bastion will get assigned a public IP now. Pub IP. Now everything, like if you want to connect, it gets connected through this NSG. You will have a NSG over here. NSG again guys, Network Security Group. Again repeating, if you have not seen my previous videos, please go and see everything, whatever we are talking right now, it's related. NSG. Okay, now at this NSG you will have the ports open. What is the port? 22, 443, not 443, 3389. Now if you want to connect, what you will do, you will connect to this. Through this the traffic will be routed to these servers. That is Bastion host for you guys. No, on this VMs will not expose any public IP, will not expose any ports, in fact will not expose anything. Every routing will happen through Bastion host. Okay, you can easily get get into your RDP and you can do SSH through portal. No public IP required for your VM. No hassle of managing network security group. We are not even doing anything over here. No hassle of managing any security group. Everything is done at this place. Okay. No need to manage a separate Bastion host on a VM. And this VM you're not even managing, guys. This is completely managed by Microsoft. You'll not even come to know that there's a VM got created. But in reality, yes, there is a VM which gets created. Let's go into PPT and see it. This is how a Bastion host look like. A Bastion host is a service you deploy that lets you connect to a virtual machine using your browser and Azure portal or via native SSH or RDP client already installed on your local system. This is how you're from internet on the portal, you're connecting, it connects to your Bastion host, then it connects to your respective VMs. It will allow to respective VMs. Okay. So this is you connect through a portal. Now this is what I saw you if you're connecting directly from internet from a local system. Now this what you see, there is a portal involved. So a 443 request is going on onto the NSG, and through this the request of 3389 and port 22 is reaching out to the VMs. Okay. So let's go and see this in practical. If anyone has any question till now, please do let me know. No questions, guys? No problem. Okay. So along with Bastion host, I'll want to do one more thing. Remember yesterday the NAT was not working as expected. Correct? We were not getting the right public IP output while we have defined NAT. So what we'll do, we'll include NAT also in this, because these are all backend servers, correct? These servers which we are talking about, these are all backend servers. If this servers wants to go to internet, I'm talking about the outbound traffic. If these servers wants to go to internet, which public IP they would be using? For that we need a NAT over here, correct? Without NAT it will not go out. Make sense? That is what NAT is all about. Network transition association transition line, correct, guys?
Yes. Can I ask a question? I just want to get the bigger picture because you mentioned the NAT.
Correct.
So basically, what this what do you call this Bastion OS is doing? It's more kind of like a camouflage from any inbound traffic that will go to the server. It will go to the what do you call Bastion host. While Bastion host will communicate with the servers. And this it's like a barrier that protects any external traffic from reaching the server directly, correct? Just like the NAT, just like the database being protected by the NAT.
Perfect.
Is that kind of the same concept? I'm
Yeah.
just trying to put everything in.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, if we talk about Bastion, Bastion is nothing but, as you said, the word camouflage. It will not expose your actual server ports. It will not expose the public IP. There's no public or port open at this place. Firstly, just keep that in mind. So all the connection is getting routed through this Bastion host. If you want to log into these VMs, you will log. Basically, what you will do, you will connect to this Bastion host. It's again a VM in the backdrop, which you will not even come to know. You just go through the portal, Azure portal, and through this VM you will be able to connect to these VM1 and VM2. So again, everything is masked over here, nothing is exposed, no public IP, nothing is exposed. That is what Bastion host for you. Okay. On the other side, this is for the inbound traffic, the traffic which is going inside the VM. Okay. On the other side, when this VM needs to connect to internet, if this services needs to go to internet, what needs to be done? Like, there's no public IP. How exactly how it will go? For that we are using NAT. NAT is what? Network address translation. So what NAT will do, will have a NAT assigned over here. Okay, and this NAT will have one public IP. All the traffic now will go through this NAT. Now when the hacker tried to come inside your VM and try to look into the public IP through which you're trying to access the internet, he will get a net public IP. And NAT has nothing to do with your VMs. Even if we get access to this NAT public IP, nothing will happen, because this all your VMs are behind the layer. Okay, and this VM has no connection whatsoever. It doesn't have any public, no generic ports open like 3389 and port 22, no such ports open. So everything is there behind the scene. Okay, that is what.
So I have a question. Sorry to cut you short. So talking about the Bastion host and the NAT, are they actually a best practice for creation of virtual machine? Are
Best.
they the best practice in terms of protection, protecting your IPs and stuff like that?
No, there are many practices. So like till now there are so many practices we have seen. So one or two, I cannot say that these are the best practices. Okay, but definitely Bastion host will replace the Jumpbox concept, which you might be using in your companies. The Jumpbox wherein you're creating a VM, putting all the security on that VM, and you're keeping all other VMs in the backdrop. No need of doing that, because Bastion host can do very easily those things for you. Okay, so yeah, look, in perspective, if you talk about connecting to the VMs, yeah, Bastion host could be a best practice. NAT gateway is universal. This is not just in cloud. Even if you have your own data centers wherein you have your backend servers, then even in your on the firewall they set up NAT gateway. So yeah, these are the practice, not just from the cloud perspective. Yeah, actual data center wherein you handle the firewall by yourself, wherein you go on to the Cisco web pages and create the network and start adding things. So over there also you will be using NAT. NAT is a very common concept for security if you have backend servers. Okay, talking about best practice, we cannot define anything as a best practice. Combination of multiple things can be concluded as best practice. One or two things cannot be considered as best practice, because there are so many hacking, so many attacks, and so there are so many things happening in the world. You cannot pinpoint, yeah, this is the best practice. No, if we say that, we are totally wrong. In IT world, nothing is best. Even Azure, and when they define the SLA, they say 99.99911 they don't even say 100%. Okay, so they are taking a bandwidth that my system may get down, may go down. Okay, so yeah, if they are taking, even we can take. Okay, so let's go and see this in practical, because Bastion host setup will take a good amount of time. Okay, so today what we'll do, will along with Bastion host will include NAT also, because NAT was not completed yesterday, guys. So we'll include NAT and we'll see NAT also. So the first thing we'll create today will be the NAT gateway. So I'm just trying to depict the same thing which I have drawn over here. Okay, let's go and look for NAT gateway. Let's create a resource group quickly. devopsmela -rg. It's already there. rg1 NAT gateway. Let's give a name to my NAT gateway. I just name it as my NAT. Region West Europe is okay. Availability zone, I'll talk about this availability zone in a bit. For now, let's keep it no zone. TCP ideal time, let's make it 10 minutes. Okay, let's review and create. Before that, let's assign a IP address. What did I say? Even your NAT will have one IP address, remember. Okay, let's create a new IP. Name it as my NAT IP, something like this, or my public IP, whatever you want to name it. My NAT IP, it's okay. Subnet and all, just ignore it for now and just review and create. So this part is created. This part, we are done with this part. Created the NAT one. Now this is what we need to create. Now we'll focus on creating this virtual network first. This is your virtual network, and we'll create this subnet, and we'll include Bastion. These three things what we will do now. Okay, and we'll include this NAT also to my virtual network. Okay, this is not created yet. And I have a very good looking diagram for NSG and ESG, guys. So I'll be sharing these PPTs in the drive. So this is what we did yesterday, correct? To explain what is exactly is NSG and ESG. So you guys can refer this diagram also. Even for today, I'll be creating one diagram. There is a diagram already over here. This is taken from Microsoft official website. So yeah, you guys can refer this also. Okay, is the NAT created? It's waiting. Okay, while this is coming up, let's go back and let's create a virtual network now. Okay, the NAT is successfully created. Awesome. Let's go and create a virtual network. Okay, resource group, I'll use the same one, not this one, RG1. Name, I can give my VNet. Region, I'll select West Europe, that is fine. IP address, I can change the IP address or I can keep it, doesn't matter. Or I can even have delete this, and I can have something called the one which we're using since yesterday, that is 10.1.0.0/16. Okay, I have explained what exactly how these IPs are there in my previous session, what is subnetting and all. So make sure to view the previous sessions. Okay, but subnet, I just name it as my subnet, and I can assign something called as 10.1.0.0/24. Okay, remember we have a NAT now, correct? So I can go and select the NAT over here. I can assign the NAT, that is my NAT. The gateway has been allocated to this subnet, add. So basically at this place I am assigning a NAT to my subnet. Done. Security, Bastion host, I can go and enable Bastion host. So if I enable at the VM level itself, the virtual network level itself, what will happen? Whatever VM gets created inside this virtual network, it will have a Bastion host already created. Okay, so you will have Bastion host. You can have Bastion host created after creating virtual network also. But if you know the architect very well that you need to have a Bastion host, then you, while creating the network itself, you can enable your Bastion host. Okay, this is what I am doing right now. Name it as now my Bastion host, and again it will ask for a subnet. What did I say? It creates its own subnet. So what we have to give, we have to again give a subnet range. So let me give a range of 10.0.0/26 over here. How many IP a Bastion can use? 64 addresses, and it will need the subnet prefer overlaps with 10.1. Give me one quick minute. Okay, sorry, I'll just have this. Okay, it was overlapping because we have already used that network 10.1.0.0/24. I cannot have one more 0 over here, so that is the reason I was getting an error. Now this is good. Tag, it's okay, make sure to tag it, guys. Review and create. There is a security error I see. Okay, sorry, the public IP. Now I just name it as my Bastion IP. So as I said, even the Bastion will have a public IP assigned. So this is, let's create a Bastion IP. Review and create. So what all things we did? We created a virtual network, we created subnet 1, we created subnet 2, we added Bastion, added public IP. These are the things. There are so many things we have created while creating this virtual network. Okay, this will take more than 10 minutes to create. This Bastion creation will take more than 10 minutes. So while we are waiting, we'll go back and look into Azure billing. We'll talk about how the charges are calculated. Now what I'll do, I'll open a Azure calculator. This is the tool which you will be using day in day out for calculating all the charges, and that is very important tool, guys. Again, this will be just an estimate. You cannot tell a fixed value if you are talking to your client, or if you're giving anything related to your charges. It will be an estimate. You can say this is the estimate. It may go up, it may go down, depending upon what exactly you're doing. Okay, now let's take an example of how the charges will be calculated and things like that. So let's take an example of virtual machine. Now at the left hand side you can see all the services, the types of services. Now if you see in the compute section, you can find the virtual machine, the scale set, the Kubernetes services, function, fabric, many things. In networking, you can find your virtual network, load balancer, application gateway, IP addresses, the IP addresses which we are assigning, the charges for Bastion host. Everything is over here. Now let's take a typical example of virtual machines only. So I got a virtual machine added. What is the reason we are using West Europe for now? So let's go and see West Europe. This is West Europe, and no thanks. And I'll be launching an Windows machine this time. So this is Windows OS only, standard, the tier. There are basic and standard. So based on this tier, your category, the instance types will be selected. If you select basic, you'll get very least important instance. So we'll go with standard, and these are all the VM families. This is how your VMs are categorized: compute optimized, general purpose, GPU is more of graphic. If you have some work which is more graphic oriented, then GPU. High performance compute, if you have something related to more into memory, like if you are creating a huge set of databases on your VMs, then definitely you need something called memory optimized. You're creating something storage optimized, wherein you need more storage. So this is how your VMs are categorized. Now if you want to know the Azure VM family series, so you can just look for Azure VM family. Azure VM family. This way you can just put in, you can know more about these VM families. What are the categories? See this. General purpose, what all sizes comes in general purpose, what exactly general purpose is used for. Balance CPU to memory ratio. Compute optimized, high CPU to memory ratio. Memory optimized, high memory to CPU ratio. This is how it is segregated. GPU, specialized virtual machine targeted for heavy graphics rendering. This is for all the the one who does the designing, graphical designing, gaming, interior designing, decoration and everything. So this is for them. High performance compute are fastest and more powerful CPU virtual machines. This is how the categories are divided. So what exactly we will be using? General purpose, wherein we have a balance of CPU to memory ratio. Okay, go back to the calculator. I can have a general purpose, and what are the types? These are the D series types which you can go and select. Now if you see, the compute is also given. This is 2 vCPU and 8 gig of memory. If you want to change the family, you can drop down, and let's select a least one, this one. 1.75 gig of memory and 1 core. This is very less for a window machine, guys. Frankly, your not even a browser will open if you have this one. So let's at least select A2. How many machines do you want? You want one virtual machine. How many for how many hours? You want for, let's keep it as 1 month. This is because I am using a Windows, it is asking me for a license. Do you have a Windows license or do you want to purchase it? License included. Okay, now at the left hand side there are multiple options. Now the one which is selected, it is pay as you go. So what exactly pay as you go means? So the number of hours you're using, you're paying accordingly. As soon as you shut the VM, your compute charges will not be applied. Without saying, the other charges will definitely apply, the public IP, the NIC, the disk, and those charges will definitely apply. So don't be in the impression, no, I have shut my VM, I should not get charged. No, my friend, that's absolutely wrong. You will get charged for other services. Okay. Now if you're doing a commitment, I will be committing 1 year plan. I want this VM for 1 year. So you have 1 year savings plan, 1 year reserve, 3 year reserve. This is how you can go and select this also. So this is about your VM. Just for VM, how much you're getting charged? $131.40. Coming down, you will have a disk attached to it. Definitely without disk, how will you use a VM? At least for a OS, you will need a disk. Or if you want to have additional disk attached, the OS disk is given over here, guys. So if you see, 135 GB of temporary storage is given. So this is a temporary storage. What do I mean by temporary storage? It's ephemeral. What do I mean by ephemeral? If you restart your system, everything is gone. So that is what temporary storage is. So you need a storage also. So in storage, there are standard SSD, standard SSD. SSD is more performance optimized. With less space, it will be more like if you are working something with databases wherein there are multiple in and out happening, then you will definitely need SSD. HDD is an older version of your hard drive. Many of us, we don't even use HDD now in our laptop. We get 256 GB of SSD, then around 512 of HDD. HDD is just to store, as SSD wherein your OS is residing, and wherein all your processing is, or your apps gets installed, and all your processing happens from SSD. So even in a laptops, we don't have SSD nowadays. Okay. So if you go with a best laptop or a system you're setting up, if you have SSD, that's a very costly affair. That laptop is nothing near to 1 lakh, 2 lakh Indian rupees I'm talking about. And I know in US it's very cheap, but yeah, in India it's costly. Okay. Okay, SSD. In SSD you can have LRS. I'll talk about this redundancy later. But for now, let's focus on how many space you want. Let's talk about 256 GB. How many disks you want? Let's talk about one disk at least. Okay. Storage transaction. How many transaction? Let's see. You're doing 10,000 in and out. 10,000. Bandwidth. Inter-region. 5 GB is, let's talk about 20 GB. Done. This is my total cost just for your VM. Now let's go back up, add virtual network also now. Now this is virtual network. Okay. Virtual network, you have virtual network 1, virtual network 2 and 100 GB. Do you need a gateway? Again, the gateway cost will be there. Yes, gateway. And do you need to do a VNet pairing? So again, up to you need to see what you need. Now this is done. Let's go. I need a public IP also. How many static IP do you need? As if now, just for this thing, I've created 2 public IPs, guys. So let's take that as 2 public IPs. Now what else you need? We are using Bastion host also, correct? Let's select that also. Basic standard, again, let's go with standard. How many hours of Bastion hosts? Let's keep it at 730 hours. That is almost one month I'm talking about. Now let's see the total. That's it. Did I add AKS also? No dude, no AKs. Oh, it's all gone. Wait. Okay, all my estimate is gone. So roughly it came around $500+ guys per month, depending what all services you are adding, how many times you want to use, how many public IPs you want to create, how many network, everything. This is how you will be calculating everything from here. I would have saved my estimates, but it's not, I'm not logged in right now, but this is how everything will be added. Any doubt till here? Okay, the Bastion host is ready. Any doubt till here, guys? How the calculation happens? Same goes with your containers also. If you're using AKS, how many node AKS you're using, if you're using container registry, if you're using Red Hat OpenShift, so if you're using SQL database, Cosmos database, everything will get calculated over here. At the end, you should see at the top, you will see the complete estimate over here, which we missed it. Okay, so this is, always keep a track of your billing and make sure whatever you're suggesting, whatever architect in later you're designing, it should compromise with the costing also. It should not happen that you're wasting the resources, because nothing comes free over here. In cloud, nothing is free, it is costly. Okay, and if you compare the billing of AWS and Azure, AWS is at the higher side, Azure is a bit cheaper than AWS. And if you compare Azure with GCP, GCP is a new baby right now, so GCP is comparatively, it is cheaper than Azure. Okay, because it's a new baby, it's still trying to attract people to use GCP, hence it is at the cheaper side right now. But if you talk about networking, the number of data centers, Azure has the highest data center, followed by AWS. Okay, Azure has the maximum data center. Even in India, it got 3 data centers now, and all the major region it's already covered by Azure. Same goes with AWS. GCP I have not seen much, so I cannot comment on it. Okay, so this is how the calculation happen, guys. Make sure you calculate before, and make sure you are aware about this VM family series, and based on that you can select which VM is best suited for you. Okay, keeping that in mind, I have my Bastion host ready. How much time did it take? Only 5 minutes. No, that was 5. It takes around 10 minutes and more, guys. So you have to be very patient when you are creating anything of such. Okay, what is the things are ready? Bastion ready, VNet ready. Now I need to create my VMs. I'll just have one VM created, not 2 VMs, guys, just for demo. So let's go and create a VM quickly. I'll create the VM in the same resource group, name it as VM1. Availability option, just ignore it for now. Security type, I'll keep it standard, and I'll be using data center Windows Server 2022. So this time we'll use Windows. Okay, the size, 1 vCPU and 1 gig of memory is very less for Windows, because if I use this, I'll not be able to log into that VM. Okay, so I'll just, at least I'll go with 1 vCPU and 3.5 gig of memory, at least that one. So let's create a user, devopsmela, test 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, test 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, as this is an inbound port, what did I say? We are not allowing any port, any public IP over here, so I'll keep it none, no ports. Okay, this is the SSD. Networking, I'll select this network subnet. This is the subnet I'm selecting. I'm not selecting my Bastion host subnet. Public IP, as I said, no, none. We are not assigning in public IP. NIC card, I'll keep it basic. Everything is none. Management, it's okay. Monitoring, I'll disable it for now. Advanced, it's okay. Review and create. So everything we did none. No public IP, no ports getting exposed. So how do we log in? So we'll log in through Bastion host. See the charges, 9.5820 INR per hour, just your VM cost. Again reiterating, that is your VM and all the required peripherals which is attached to your VM, such as your NIC, public, network, disk. Those are the charges, are additional. Okay, so the VM is getting created. Let's wait and watch. Any questions, guys?
Yeah. Beside having this virtual Bastion host, can we configure like a Bastion host separately externally?
Externally. Yeah, that is what we did, correct? We created the Bastion host first. Now we are creating the VM. Is that your?
Yeah. What I'm saying that like creating a server, probably install all the configuration for the Bastion host and kind of like loop all the servers together. Is that something possible?
Yes. There are images you can find out which are mostly meant for Bastion host images. So you can create your own VM, separate subnet, and using the Azure custom Bastion images you can create it. Yeah, that is possible. The only thing is now the dependency will be up to you. You have to manage everything now. You will be managing the patching activities. You will be managing the shutdown activities. You will be managing the availability set, the availability zone. Thus all this thing will be your headache after that, because now the Bastion host which I'm using, I'm not managing anything. That is managed. It's a managed service, completely managed by Microsoft. Now the things which you're saying, what you're telling, you want a VM. On the top of the VM you'll be installing and setting up Bastion host from scratch. Okay, now the management works comes to you, because Azure has just provided you the VM. Now VM comes in infra as a service, correct? Remember the chart which we saw, which I showed you, whose roles and responsibility would be. Now if you have a VM, the complete roles and responsibility is yours to manage it. So if you're ready to take up that task, yes, there is a way to set up Bastion host externally also. Make sense, Ahmed?
Yeah, just curious. Just want to know. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
put everything in a bigger picture. Thank you.
Very good. No, in reality, I'll tell you. In reality, just to reduce cost, they do such things. We have an architect where we set up Bastion hosts separately. If you have a good cloud team and if you have good system team, then definitely you can do this, wherein you can pass on this task to the cloud and the system team. But it comes with a responsibility also. If anyone goofs up, all your access to the server is gone through the Bastion host. Again, you have to maintain redundancy over there. You have to make sure that multiple Bastion host is created. So there's so many other things which we need to keep in consideration. Okay, my VM is ready. Virtual machine agent status is not ready. This is what happens when you have a Windows machine. Let me refresh it. Go to VM, VM1. It's still coming up. Okay, in the meanwhile, do we have a public IP? No. If you go to the networking, if you look into NSG, do we have any port open? No. How do we connect? So the connection is through Bastion host. If you come down in the operation tab, do you see something called Bastion now? Now it is simply asking you for your user ID and password. This is because we have previously created Bastion host. If suppose you have not created the Bastion host, Now when you come to this section, it will give you an option to create Bastion host from this page also. So when you just click create, it will automatically go and create the Bastion host for you. So basically it will do the exact same thing what we did over here. Exact same thing it will do. The only difference is I've just created Bastion host upfront. Now this is something you can go and create again if you want. Okay, what is the username? devopsmela. What is the password? Test at 12345678. Okay, open in a new browser tab. Yes, connect. So it's trying to connect. Let's allow this. See this, I'm able to connect without public IP, without opening any generic port. I'm able to connect to my VM. I am inside my VM right now. It's still loading. So this is what Bastion host does for you, securing your and not allowing you to open any generic ports. Okay, now the second thing, while this is coming up, the second thing is we need to test a NAT gateway also, correct? So how do we test the NAT gateway? By simply checking what is the public IP assigned to the NAT. This is 20.123.198.188. So all my outgoing traffic should go through this public IP, correct? How do we verify? Very simple. I can just open the browser and look for what's my IP. That's why I've created 4 gig of RAM, because if you have 1 gig RAM, nothing will happen. You will not even see the screen in the first place. So we can go and quickly, even this is very slow guys. So that's why I always prefer using Linux, because 1 gig of RAM and 1 gig of vCPU is more than enough. What's my IP.com? Okay, now what is the IP? 20.123.198.188. Perfect, matching with your NAT. So all your network traffic from this VM to outside world, it's going through NAT, this NAT which we created. This is what was not happening yesterday. I don't know, maybe because of some cache. So this is, if you see, all your network traffic is going through your NAT gateway. So let me close this. Are we good guys? Before I go and delete everything, are we good? Anyone has any question, any doubt what exactly it is, how exactly it is, and things like that? No questions? Okay, then I'm just deleting this entire setup, because we already saw the calculation how costly it is. So I can simply go and delete this. Done.
So if we delete the resource group, is everything going to be deleted?
Yes.
Instead of doing it one by one. Okay.
One by one is not an option. Delete resource
It's
group.
not option. Okay.
One by one you may tend to miss out things. So that is the reason we make use of a resource group. See this? This is what we talked about. So this is how things gets created in cloud. You create a resource group and you select the right service plan, and all your service comes inside this resource group. If you want to manage your resources, you will be managing directly from here. Okay, so there are two topics which we haven't touched yet, is custom image and availability zone, availability set. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's go to PPT. Okay, so in Azure, how do we maintain the availability and resiliency? Now, what do I mean by availability? Now, due to some unforced reason, if suppose your complete VM is down, you should have your backup VMs also, correct? Due to suppose you have selected East US data center where your complete production infra is hosted, and there is some unforeseen event, earthquake, flood, because of that reason the complete data center is down, your VMs are also down, correct? Can you handle such use case? Is your setup capable of handling such use case? Like suppose if you're into banking domain, what will happen? Your complete banking system is down. If there's no redundancy, if you don't have availability defined, okay? Or suppose there is one data center in East US. So in East US there are three data center, and everything of your services are hosted in zone 1. Like it divides into 3 zones: zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Now the zone 1 has a power outage. Just because Microsoft data center zone 1 has a power outage, your complete business is shut. A classic example of US Airlines right now, the complete airport system was down. They were not able to get net guidance. The plane was not able to get the network guidance, because of which they were not able to fly. Classic recent example, correct? The complete system was down. How big the loss was? Now they came to know, no, they need a redundant. They had only one single system where everything was getting operated. I don't know who has done that setup. Correct? It's a very classic use case. Go on Google and read through it what exactly the issue was. Such things should not happen. To avoid such things, you have a classic examples in Azure. You can set availability zones. You can set availability set. You can have virtual machine scale sets. You can have load balancer. You can have Azure storage redundancy. You can have Azure site recovery. Now what exactly is availability zone, and everything will understand each by each, because everything is related. Now you can have one service at a time. You can have combination. You can use availability zone. You can use availability set. You can use VM scale set. With VM scale set, you can use load balancer. So combination, how well you define the architect, that is something we'll understand when we go through each and every services. This is very, very important topic, not just from DevOps perspective, from cloud administrative perspective, and when you define your architect. So even from the DevOps perspective, when you deploy your application, you should know now where exactly your application is getting deployed. What will happen? The VM where your application was deployed, it's down. Is your application still up even the VM is down? So you need to answer all these questions. So we'll see this each and every what exactly these are, and practically we'll see it. Maybe not today because I have very limited time now. If I start this topic, I may have to end this also. So let's take it tomorrow, and let's take it this with practical, because there's one more topic which is left right now, is custom image. How do we create custom images? So that is something I'll keep it for tomorrow. And for today, that's it guys. If you have questions, please do let me know. We still have time. Anyone?
Yeah, well, I'm just I just want you to send us the diagram, so yeah, we can go through that as well with the videos.
Yes, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
please.
I'm always uploading the diagram. I'll upload this diagram in my previous, and this diagram I'll create again. No, there is already a diagram, so I'll have this diagram sent to you guys across. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, guys. What I'll do. I'll put this PPT itself. This is a quite a big PPT, guys. There are so many things there inside this. So just refer the section which we have completed. The section which we haven't touched yet, please don't refer those. Okay, I'll just get this PPT uploaded itself. Okay guys, any questions so far? I'm assuming that you guys are following up and making sure that you are practicing everything. Everything is interrelated. Yeah, Ahmed.
Yeah, we are. And also, I'm sorry, the rest of the my colleague over there, please. I'm not nosy or something like that. I'm just trying to get everything. Please, since we're doing, you said we're doing custom image nest, and what are the topics so we can read ahead of time. So by the time you're doing the practical, we can kind of like get everything much better.
Yeah.
Please.
These are the two topics: availability zone and set, and custom image. What we'll do tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay guys, thank you very much. Let's meet tomorrow and let's continue this topic. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.